What is going on, everybody? It's Nothing But Skills here, and today we're going to be showcasing a build that I think is really underrated. I feel like a lot of people are all about running the Technician with high crit chance, high crit damage, Spark, Berserk. Some people run with Vigilance, different ways you can run it, but I feel like people are actually missing out on the heals, and I feel like the people who do run these types of builds know the power that it can offer, right? When you're being able to run double heals, still put out enough damage and drop players when they're focusing you, because you have really good heals that are keeping you up. And the great thing about this is you can run it solo or you can run it in a team, and your team would benefit from it too, right? The heals are only going to benefit your team, so at the end of the day, if you're running double heals like this, it actually works out pretty good for you and your teammates. Now, I'll have a full breakdown of how I run this build. Remember, there are some things I would like to change, so I'll explain that. So if you guys listen to what I have to say to each piece, I'll explain what piece I think needs to be changed, what piece I think you can move around. But overall, I'm a fan of this build and I've been using it for a while. So let's dive into it and see what this build has to offer. So we currently are running the Survivalist, and the reason why we picked the Survivalist is because it has the Seeker Mending Balls that we can use, so it's definitely gonna help us out. If the Technician had the Seeker Mending Balls, then maybe we would use those, but this is what we're running for here. Now if you look, we're running 465k armor, 33,000 health, almost 3,000 skill power on the Chem Launcher, and that would be the same for the Hive, and then 3,000 for my Seekers. For the weapons, we are running the Rail Splitter. Now the base damage on this one is 11,471. On my build, it's pushing it to 8,500. We have 990 RPM, a 50 round mag. We have perfectly measured, which makes the Rail Splitter so good, because remember, the top half of the magazine has 20% rate of fire and only loses negative 10% weapon damage, and the bottom half negative 15% rate of fire and 30% total weapon damage you gained. We have a Legger on here, and then we have recharge. While equipped, skills deployed at full armor have 25% duration, charges, and ammo, which is great for my build. And when I throw it out on my Seekers at full health, I have 25% extra duration. Now the way I have this mod is I'm running a 5% crit chance scope, I have 5% crit chance underbarrel, 5% crit damage muzzle, and then I pair that up with a 20 round mag, sturdy extended 5.56 mag. And that's what I'm going with this build. I get 10% crit chance, 5% crit damage. Now for my secondary, I'm running the Eagle Bearer. For the holster talent, while holster, gain 10% bonus armor while you are firing. So when you pair that up with the Rail Splitter that's already hitting hard, has some crit chance, it works really good. Now for the pistol, I'm running a pistol that has protective reload. I never use my pistol for anything, but it is there for that protective reload. While equipped, this weapon grants 10% bonus armor. So I have protected fire from the Eagle Bearer, protective reload. Every time I reload, I end up recharging this, and I always have that active. That's what's great about those two talents. Now I am running a 2-piece True Patriot for the 10% armor. We do have almost 10% crit chance on the mask, 387 skill power. If I could get a better mask here, I would like to get one with maybe around 500 skill power and roll it on there. It does have an offensive mod with 5% assault rifle damage, 1% weapon damage. For the chest piece, we're running the Yao Gear chest piece. Now you can run a Heliguard chest piece, up to you. This does give me 10% hazard protection, but the reason why I'm running this chest piece right here, because I already had 18.5 total armor here. I had a low 13,000 armor roll on there, but I wasn't complaining because I was able to roll almost 1,000 skill power on the chest piece. And then this one has Bloodsucker. Ideally, I could probably, if I could get one that had Berserk, I'd probably use that one. But I do like Bloodsucker for the build the way I have it set up, because I am hitting 11 blues. So remember, depleting an enemy's armor gives you a 15% bonus armor stack, and that can stack up to 2 times. So that's for PvP. Now we have 2 blues, so we have almost 8k armor and 1.5% total armor and 1% health on both mod slots right there. Remember, like I said, if you guys could get a Berserk on there, that's really up to you. You can switch that out. I do like playing with Bloodsucker though. Now on the holster, this is my second piece of True Patriot. We have 8.5% critical chance, which I wish I had a little bit better roll here. I did roll one of my best skill power rolls of 795, and then the great thing about True Patriot, you get 2 mod slots. So we have assault rifle damage, damage to armor, weapon damage, and then we have weapon damage, assault rifle damage, and damage to health. So some pretty good mods right there, and ideally that's where you want to stack weapon damage, armor, damage to armor on these mods. So if we get into our backpack, which is going to be the Healer Guard, the first piece of Healer Guard we have that I showcased, we have 5% total armor, and then you remember get 20% hazard protection because we're running a 2-piece. We do have a 10.5% total armor roll here. It had 5% weapon damage, so I rolled 32,000 armor on this one. Ideally, skill doesn't do anything for me, so I'd rather have something like efficient would probably be better for me right here. If you guys are trying to run Spark, you'll have to mess with the build, but I don't really need it for this build. So ideally, something that would, when I pop my med kits, it helps me long term, right? And then Harden for that 15% armor. And then we do have a utility mod slot that's going to give me skill power, chem launcher skill power, and seeker skill power. If I'm going to run the hive in a group like you saw in the gameplay, I'll run skill power, hive, and then seekers. So just switch it up right there. So for the gloves, we are running the first piece of Fenris. This gives me 10% assault rifle damage. It gives me 11% assault rifle damage. I do have a blue roll here because I do want to hit that 11, right? So I can get Bloodsucker. We do have Devastating for the 5% weapon damage. Now this is where I personally would rather switch this out and go with 10%. So I would go with something like Surgical for the 10% critical hit chance, and then push my critical hit chance closer to like 40%. But I haven't got any gloves like that, so I'm kind of stuck right here with this. So if you want to have closer to 40% crit chance, which I think is really good on builds, then you want to go with Surgical here. So if I can get the same rolls, blue, red, and then Surgical, that's where I would be with this build. So that's just something to keep in mind. For the knee pads, I'm running the second piece of Healer Guard. So this gives me 11% total armor. I put Empowered on here, the 20% skill power, and that's why I'm able to break 3,000 skill power on this build. Now we do have 2 defensive mods on there, the same defensive mods I had stacked on the build. So we're going with armor, total armor, and health. Now if we dive into the skills, remember the first skill you definitely can't switch out. It's going to be the Seeker Mind. The Seeker Mind is what you want, and if you look right here, I'm running a double heal. So my PvP healing is at 28,000 and non-PvP is at 56,000. Now I do have a Seeker skill power mod on here because my mask, remember, it was only at like a 300, and I could push that closer to 500. But you do want to have on both healing, on the left and right, you want to have healing mods. Now once I get that skill power up, I could drop this and put skill haste, so it just cut down on the time that it takes to get back my mines. But yeah, the heal is perfect there. Now this is really up to you. If you want to run the chem launcher, this would probably, I think, more solo play. And look at the PvP healing, almost 70,000, and PvE 140,000. Now if you want to run the hive, you can do that too. Covers a bigger area and has charges that can shoot at multiple players at once and help your team, right? So if I was gonna run this, I do have to switch out my mod. So now that I switched out my mod, I have the ability to run healing, which I don't have perfect healing mods, but they're decent. And look, at my PvP healing is at 36,000, PvE at 72,000, but I have over 48 charges. So I run healing charges on this one, and that is pretty decent, right? It helps out your team. You get these back pretty quick, and it's not an issue. Now if we look at the stats, I am only running 28,000 crit chance. I would like to have this closer to 40%, and that would be with just the gloves and have a little bit better roll on my knee pads. Oh, sorry, on my holster, because remember holster was what, 9%. So if I could get maybe 11%, which isn't really hard to get, and then roll that high skill power roll there, already be at 40% just with the better gloves. Crit damage, I'm at 30%, and then headshot damage 55%. We take a look at, I'm running 14.5% all weapon damage, 47% assault rifle damage. We have 31% health damage and 1% armor damage. But yeah, this is the build. This is the build. This is the full build breakdown. I already told you everything I would like to change on it. I think it works great with Bloodsucker. Having that 11 defensive works really good. And what that allows me to do is have a little bit more armor because my armor rolls are a little bit low, but it allows me to make plays with Bloodsucker. And then when I use my survivalist med kit, when I have my heals, it just all kind of pairs together, right? Because I'm getting heals, getting that bonus armor when I break armor. Just a lot going on with this build. Now I don't have the perfect rolls on this build at all, as it's one of the newer builds that I've been playing with, and I still want to make some changes to it, play with it. But I think it's really underrated running double heals. I feel like in group play, having healers, seeker, like having the hive and then having the seeker mines works really good in a group setting, and even solo. It's if you can fight those guys 1v2 and come out on top. And I think that's why this build is really underrated, as most people are going with the technician, right? They just you throw your firefly or you throw your seekers out, they explode, you get 20% of your armor back, and voila, you know, like you can have more damage. So people are really focusing on that, but I feel like maybe being a little bit more tankier once you build this build up and having that extra heal on top of that can probably help you survive those face tanks. But this build should be good for a little bit. We don't know when Gear 2.0 is coming out, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button, turn notification bell on, so when I release a video, you guys get notified. I thank you guys again for all the support as always, but we're gonna wrap it up here. I will see you guys in the next one. Nothing but skills out.